Our presenters for today. So on the line, we've got Dr. Ahmed Ali, who's the Transportation Engineering Manager at the City of Lethbridge. Ali manages the transportation planning, traffic engineering, operations, and parking operations at the city since 2009. He's previously worked for Watt Consulting and Parsons Brinkerhoff. He's a professional engineer in Alberta, Virginia, and Maryland, and a PTOE member, as well as a member of the Small Municipalities Integrated Committee for TAG. We've also got Raheem Dilgir on the line, and he's a road safety professional with TransSafe. He has 25 years experience in Canada and working abroad. He has offices in Vancouver and Calgary. He assists road agencies in the development, delivery, and valuation of road safety programs, and he's contributed to a number of safety and Vision Zero plans for 5 municipalities in Western Canada. He's the co-founding chair of TAC Vision Zero and Safe Systems Subcommittee, and was previously our president here at Southern Alberta ITE. So welcome. I will now turn it over to Ahmed, who will start presenting.
Okay, so I'll just restart. In City of Lethbridge, we do transportation master plan like other municipalities every 7 to 10 years. Our last master plan was 2010, 2012, and that was the first one, which was not a roadway master plan. For the first time, we included all modes, and we also included transportation policies. And this is, again a new chapter in our planning history. We said, and as we all recognize that, transportation safety has been, getting a lot of emphasis among the municipalities, among public agencies. And there is a clear recognition that the cost of motor vehicle crashes to society is pretty high. And then, we need to focus on that in our planning and engineering and design efforts. And at the City of Lethbridge, we have always, thought about transportation safety at a high priority. We consider ourselves leader in transportation safety in the size of, cities similar to us. Some of the unique things we have done in Lethbridge are, for example, we were the first ones to adopt RRFBs, and probably we were the first in the whole of the country to adopt variable speed limits on a stretch of road. I did that presentation a few years ago at the TAC. And I think per capita basis, we have probably one of the largest number of roundabouts in the country. So with that background, we thought that before we start the transportation master plan in 2020, by the way, we just got started on that. Stantec is helping us with that TMP, and the recommendations, the ideas, the strategies which we have developed in the safety plan will go directly into that as input and advise and inform the TMP. So before I begin the presentation, I wanted to acknowledge the consulting team from TransSafe, Watt, and BNA. And the steering committee consisted of several City of Lethbridge transportation departments, as well as other agencies like Alberta Health and Alberta Motor Association. And we had over 60 internal and external stakeholder groups. So there was a very comprehensive public and stakeholder consultation in building this safety plan. The outline, after a brief introduction, I would give you some background on the road safety situation in Lethbridge, like existing conditions. We establish a vision and mission statements. We talk about, in detail about community engagement, focus areas, and then implementation plan and a brief summary. So as I said, this will be the first formal safety plan in the city, although for last 30 years, we have been doing safety, road safety or transportation safety in different forms, like, intersection safety review, safety audit on almost all our functional projects, our preliminary design and detailed design and construction projects. But as a formal plan, this is the first time we are attempting to develop a transportation safety plan. And this, as I said again, it will be the first element and a very important element into our TMP. Again, the primary objective is to move towards zero deaths, like every municipality and every jurisdiction is doing these days. and identify policies and projects that will go as an input into our TMP. You're probably aware that TMP is required by the MGA for grants. Like we have to do it for every 7 to 10 years, and it's also fundamental in development of our capital programs, our policies and programs. So we started the project in 2019 September, and we just completed. It's not actually complete, but we have the draft and final report. We are going to City Council late in this month, and hopefully for a public presentation, and then for approval next month. So it's still work in progress, but as far as the technical work is concerned, we just completed a couple of weeks ago. So as part of the transportation safety plan, we build a baseline scenario by doing comprehensive data analysis for 10 years and then focusing on the 5 years data. So we don't have up-to-date data from Alberta Transportation. We, being a smaller municipality, depend on Alberta Transportation and the local Lethbridge Police to provide us data. So we are a little bit behind the data. So we could only obtain a good data set from 2012 to 2016. And that was, we undertook a comprehensive analysis. And based on that analysis, we recognized that Lethbridge has got a transportation safety problem. Before we did this analysis, we were thinking, oh, we're probably doing pretty much better than many other municipalities, because our road fatalities were 2 per 100,000, which is not really, big compared to national average or compared to other major municipalities. But when we see the data in, overall perspective or a picture, we see that every day we have one injury collision. That's a lot, like almost 400 plus. And then every month we have two severe injuries collisions. So some of them might end up in fatalities at a later time, which we don't recognize as a fatality. And then every year at an average we have two or more, approximately little over two collision or deaths due to vehicle collision. So there is a problem. So this slide shows that there are no real trends, but then we have major collisions with major injuries and fatalities. Some years we have been lucky not to have any fatality, but overall it seems we have some serious problem in road safety. So since we didn't have clear trends, and 10-year data we looked at, and then 5-year data, and then we decided that a combined 5-year average is more statistically significant, and that's why that can represent our baseline in the plan. So also we calculated the cost of collision based on the cost in Alberta, and then we found that there are lots of indicators or things go into calculating this cost, and it's about 130 million every year. So it's about $1,300 per person in per capita basis. That's a lot of GDP of our city going in just waste in because of the collisions. So that kind of gives us an indication that we must focus on road safety at a higher priority than what we have been doing in past several years or decades. So we also did some comparison for the background, again 2012 to 2016 data. It seems we are similar to many other municipalities in Alberta, with few exceptions. Like our NG rate is probably higher than other municipalities except Strathcona. We didn't have the major municipalities like Calgary and Edmonton here because we thought that we probably don't do not fall in that group, and therefore we try to compare the municipalities within with 100,000 or less population and in similar character to Lethbridge. So we are not really far off, but we have problems faced by municipalities across Alberta. And there is one thing which is really which comes out is that St. Albert. I don't know if you can compare St. Albert with city of Lethbridge, but they're still part of being the capital region, with Edmonton so close, and I guess more urban than say us in Lethbridge. They are doing pretty much better than any other municipality in terms of the the measures of effectiveness and the ideas. So hopefully they're doing much better than us, and there is room for learning lessons from St. Albert for all of us. So this shows the project phases. So it was a simple 4-phase project. So for the first part consisted of doing a baseline analysis and establishing the baseline collision scenario in Lethbridge, and then do the best practices research from Canada, internationally. And then the phase 2 was a very comprehensive city staff engagement and public engagement, and over 80 external engagement, including indigenous groups. There were several indigenous groups, taxi groups, and schools, universities, everybody. So almost a large group of people who maybe should be interested in road safety were included in consultation. So based on that, the best practices and consultation, we came up with strategies, actions, and projects that will be presented today. Um, and then phase 4, we just trying to wrap up the report and doing the presentation to the city. So the slide just shows the whole process in quick graphics. So we had vision, data, engagement, research going into development of focus area strategies and transportation safety management strategies. And this shows the project timeline. So we started in September 2019. There were several key points wherein we had some deliverables, and now we are almost done with this plan. So the vision was developed again with a very, with lots of public consultation. And Vision Zero, we also adopted like many other municipalities and jurisdictions in Canada and internationally. And I hope most of you know what Vision Zero is. It's an international best practice first adopted by Sweden in 1997, and they were very successful after adoption of this Vision Zero. That shows that they have lowest traffic related fatalities and injuries compared to other countries in the world. And so the components of a vision statement were drafted by our steering committee along with mission statement and supporting guiding principles. Then we shared this into um, the bigger group of external stakeholders, public open house, and then finally we adopted the vision and mission statements. There are certain things of the mission statement that need to be emphasized here, is that transportation safety becomes our top priority. And the next thing is working together. Safety is not, it's a shared responsibility for everyone who lives and works or has some responsibility in the city. And we selected year 2040, which is not too far and also not too close that we cannot achieve the targets of Vision Zero which we are targeting. So we have started with say 50% elimination by 2030 and zero, almost Vision Zero or zero fatalities and injuries by 2040. And we hope that once we start implementing the plan, we will be able to achieve that. And again, as a best practice, we adopted safe system approach, uh, which has programs and policies in using evidence-based and innovative and sustainable solutions. And another important thing is that we consider all modes. So the guiding principles, we acronymed it as SAFE. So sustainability, adaptability, positive culture, and equitability. So these are, as everybody knows, they are very, very important principles when we are dealing with, multimodal transportation in societies uh, which needs some kind of equity and fairness. Like in our area, we have uh, a big population of indigenous groups. So we want to make sure that we are fair and equitable across modes, abilities, and ages. So this is the safe systems framework. Many of you might already have seen it in several road safety conferences and presentations, so I won't be spending a lot of time on this. But the important elements I will just indicate here. that land use planning, the starting point, safe roads, mobility choices, safe speed, safe vehicles, and safe road users. And above all, post-crash response are very important in the safe system framework. So as you see on this graph, we decided that we will have our target year as 2040, but then we will go by the World Health Organization's target 50 by 30, so 50% reduction by 2030. So this graph shows you the number of severe serious collisions and the fatalities. You might see the numbers, the graph going downwards, but numbers show same. This is because of the decimal places. So we just, so don't think the graph is wrong. It's just that the decimal places, we rounded up and it shows those numbers there. But there is a slight or a very slow, and decline after we have put the effort. So we are hoping that we will be able to meet these targets by implementing the plan. Also, our plan, aligns with several of the existing plans. So we have a number of master plans in the city, and then we are hoping that, or we actually try to develop strategies and actions which align with these existing plans. So quickly, I think I'm running time, so I'll just go quickly over the rest of the slides. So we had, as I said, we had several stakeholder groups, varying from city departments to media outlets. Like even we invited media outlets, driving instructors, taxi cab companies, and so on. Some of the pictures from the stakeholder groups, and this was a big community conversations we did in our brand new recreation center in West Lethbridge. Some of you may not be aware of. We built a $150 million recreation center in West Lethbridge. Is one of the best in Alberta now. So we have a large space there, and when it was open, we did one of our community conversations. So in Lethbridge, we have a unique way of doing public consultation now. So we combine all the projects, initiatives, and programs, and we do it thrice or twice in a year. So that way, people, first of all, are interested in coming, and then they also get to know and see all the programs and projects we have. It's a very good and effective way of doing the public consultation, and we found that but because of the COVID now, we had to stop those, and then we are just online. But hopefully after COVID, we'll be going back to that program. So again, some photos, and we also did online surveys, lots of responses, online surveys, and some of the major results from the community engagement were that people were themselves involved in serious collisions, and a large number of them supported our Vision Zero. So most of them said, yeah, why not? We asked them, do you support the city's target year 2040 to bring all the major injuries and fatalities to zero? They said, why not? So there was a good support from public, and there were several responses on different questions. So about 5 issues. So these helped us in developing those focus areas and actions and strategies. So distracted driving to intersections and speeding. So we did hear them and then use them into development of our focus strategies. There were some other suggestions from people on how to improve road safety. So like education, enforcement, intersection design, etc. Then we also wanted some kind of proactive action from people, and we asked them, what exactly would you contribute as an individual, as a person? So that there were some of the ideas we got them from them. For example, leaving phone away, and I think it's a very good initiative. We should be educating people about. So now we have a few minutes left for focus areas and strategies. And so as I said, we had over 100 strategies divided into 5 focus areas: distraction, speed, intersections, vulnerable road users, and safe vehicles. So in distractions, this is, we recognize that this is a fastest growing source of, problem, like, and electronic mobile devices like phone and all that stuff, and particularly with young drivers. So education and some other things such as, disabling mobile devices while in motion. So not in municipal jurisdiction, but we could probably work and work with other municipalities and other agencies in working with Transport Canada to see what can be done about it. In speed and aggressive driving here, we actually thinking to adopt what other municipalities like Calgary and Edmonton have done it. For example, reduced speed zones in residential areas, reduced speed zones in downtowns, um, and also expanding the program of VSL, which we have here. And for example, even we thought about speed cameras, like average speed cameras, but these are more of a long term. But in immediate term, we might be following suit with Edmonton and Calgary in trying to pilot a residential speed limit and downtown speed limit. Again, there are several other actions which we could do in education in addressing the speed and aggressive driving. So the next focus area is intersection. And we in Lethbridge, do not have for example, the backboard for our signals. And the reason stated historically to me was that we are very windy. But I've seen in many other cities, they have dealt with this and they still have the backboard. So one of the actions is to study and find out whether or not we can, install the backboards for signal visibility. There are more safety-oriented traffic control and roundabout. Still, I mean, even now and for a few years has been our priority intersection type. And many of our arterial roads and collector roads, we have a large number of roundabouts, even multi-lane roundabouts. So we are doing well there, and we want to expand that program. Also, smart right channels from Edmonton. It was proved to be a very good intervention, and in all our new road designs, we are following the smart right turn channels. In many of the intersections, we also introduced leading pedestrian intervals. And then VRUs, so young drivers, pedestrians, cyclists. So we've been doing many things already, and we want to continue those programs. So we have a good program for curb extensions. Many roads, arterial roads, we have installed curb extensions along with RRBs for pedestrians. There was a program called Safety City program that was kind of due to financial, issues that was, stopped. But we want to restart it soon, hopefully after this plan. And then again, it's important to note or point out that again, in Alberta, we were the first ones to develop a bike boulevard along 7th Avenue. We had a lot of opposition in the beginning, but now everybody loves it. And then again, micromobility is a emerging issue which we need to address, and we are working on it. In safe vehicles, municipality cannot do much on this, but we at least can try to improve the modal shift, that because it's known that transit vehicles are much more safer than, say, private vehicles, and we are trying to work on improving the modal shift. And this master plan will have strategies and actions and to see that we will improve the transit usage, as well as usage of alternative transportation modes and micromobility. Finally, the transportation safety management strategies. So the focus areas are more specific to individual areas of work, but safety management strategies are also important overall in the city, like data, good data, land use planning stage itself, communication, and developing an overall safety culture. So as I said, data collection, safety management system. So we have already in place, intersection review. So now we do in-house. Previously, we used to retain consultant to do intersection reviews, but now we do it in-house. every couple of years we select top 25 intersections and do a detailed in-service safety reviews and try to find out improvements and do those improvements, internally. And again, education and developing a culture. The safety culture is very, very important, and we hope to be changing people's behavior by working on the safety culture. Implementation plan, we developed a good graphic, good, um, concise implementation plan and divided the cost into low, moderate, and high, and like try to get the low-hanging fruits sooner and try to get more benefits out of those low-hanging fruits. We already have a lot of capital programs and operating programs. We just have to get safety priority, and then try to do those projects within those existing um, operating and capital programs. So again, as I said, we give priority to high benefit strategies in with low cost. So this is one sample. Like, we have several sheets on each of the focus areas. This gives us excuse me, this gives us a list of all the strategies, supporting actions, who's leading. So it's not just City of Lethbridge Transportation Department. There are others in the city as well as outside the city who will either lead or support these strategies. And implementation. Governance is very important, communication, coordination, and after that, evaluation is so important. And ultimately, without funding, nothing can succeed. And we are trying to get hold of all the existing funding we have in the city in terms of capital and operating programs, and then bring safety projects as a priority and get them implemented. So one thing I want to point out here from the slide is staffing needs. Many municipalities have exclusively transportation safety staff dedicated. We don't have one here. So as I said, I manage 3 areas of transportation, which includes planning and operations as well. And within our small number of staff, technical, we try to manage all that stuff. And I think it's impossible to focus on this unless we have a dedicated transportation safety staff. So hopefully this plan will help us achieve one. We know things are not great with COVID and other economic situations. We are aware of that, but transportation safety, road safety is so important, and we are hoping that we can work on this to get some additional staff. Governance, again, we need champions from the council, from organizations outside the city as well, and hopefully we will get work on that, getting champions on board and working towards a safe Lethbridge. And communication, again, very important. Our communication group works continuously, and they need to do more on these subjects. Actually, we also suggesting that we develop a transportation safety communication plan. So this is an overarching plan, road safety plan or transportation safety plan. We don't have a lot of details in it. It just identifies the areas where we need to focus. So one of them is to develop a transportation safety communication plan, and hopefully in coming few weeks or months, we'll be working on that with our communications group and come up with some good plan to focus on education and communication with regards to transportation safety. And we will continue to do coordination, actually increase it with Alberta Transportation, Alberta Health, AMA, neighborhood municipalities, even Calgary and Edmonton, hopefully, and also support any provincial or national research efforts. So I want to say here to those who are attending and have some say in it, if you want to try the newer technologies in smaller municipalities, we are willing to provide whatever support we can. And again, no plan is successful without monitoring and evaluation, and we will do cost benefit analysis before and after evaluations. And to do all this, staffing is so important, and I hope we get somebody to work on exclusively on road safety in Lethbridge. So now finally, in summary, I managed to get to 1235 as promised to Anne. So this is the city's first formal TSP. It's an overarching mission and guiding principles. We got to work from here. This is not an end-all plan. This is a starting thing. So we have some guiding principles now. We need to work to make city of Lethbridge, more safe. We don't want 2 people to die every year. We don't want, one real serious injury every month, and we don't want people to be injured every day. So we have to work on this using these guiding principles. And as I said, include strategies and actions in 5 focus areas, which are, not, coming from somewhere, vacuum. Everybody knows about this. These 4 or 5 areas are important in road safety, and we are going to focus on them. And finally, a successful TSP will require performance, education, governance, and staffing. Thank you very much. So, and I managed 12:35.
I know.
So we are open
excellent.
to questions. Me and Raheem is also there.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Ahmed. It's great to hear from our partners down in the south. I know you guys have come into town to attend some of our luncheons, so it's great to have you able to present what you guys are doing down in Lethbridge as well. So we do have a few questions in the chat, and if other folks want to add in, please do that. I'll read them out to Ahmed and Raheem here. So Bruce Nelligan asks, has council responded to this? How has council responded to this report? Will there be funds available to implement some of the recommendations?
So we haven't gone to council yet. They are aware of this plan, and we have had some few touch points, but the whole report has not been presented to them. So we are going on 26th of this month in a not a council session. It's called Community Issues Committee. So a longer presentation. It's a really long presentation for council itself. So we have a format in City of Lethbridge wherein for a longer presentation, it's more like public information as well. It's open to public. So we will be doing that on 26th of this month. And then after another 2 weeks, we probably would be going to City Council for approvals. And we are hoping, it's transportation safety. Hopefully we get approvals. And as I said, it doesn't ask for new funding right now because everything will be part of, Transportation Master Plan. And that helps us develop our next capital program as well as our future operating plan. So this in itself is not asking for any new funding. We probably try to explore funding from other agencies as well for minor programs, and also try to complete other strategies within the existing capital and operating programs. We already do them. Now with more recognition, we will be doing it probably in a better way.
Okay, thanks. I have one from Tony Churchill. Anything that you would highlight as really innovative or forward-looking in this plan?
First of all, as the title indicates, before we even started working on Transportation Master Plan, we started thinking about safety. So safety first is a very it itself is something unique. I don't think anybody in the country has done a master plan and first thought, oh, let's develop a safety plan first to go as an input into a transportation master plan. Other than that, most things are, not unique to Lethbridge, I would say. We trying to follow the best practices, and I guess maybe Raheem, can you help me out with this?
Sure.
Do we have anything unique here in this, which we can say, hey, this is a unique and road safety plan of Lethbridge?
Yeah, no. Hi, everybody. Great to be with you. Yeah, every time that we develop a transportation safety plan, we look to do better than the last one. So certainly doing research as to what's been done elsewhere and what's worked elsewhere was an important part of it, as well as just understanding that if we really want to get to zero, we need to do different things than we've done in the past. So I think by the city and its partners really endorsing this full kind of holistic and comprehensive approach, going beyond just the traditional traffic engineering approaches that we've taken, I think that really sets the city up for hopefully succeeding in that goal. A couple of the specific strategies that I think are, let's say, newer, a little bit more innovative. One is a new approach to setting speed limits in the city. So piloting this safe system-based approach to speed limits, which really looks at not only, doesn't look at the statutory speed limits necessarily, but looks at what are the speeds that can be tolerated in an impact, whether it's a head-on impact or a side impact, but won't result in a serious injury or fatality. Because the whole basis of a Vision Zero and Safe System approach is that people make errors but shouldn't have to pay for it with their life or life-changing injury as a result. So by taking a different approach to speed limits, that's one of the I would say newer approaches. I don't want to underemphasize the benefits of transit, and this is something that hasn't really been explored in detail in a lot of transportation safety plans. But the evidence is there, and it's growing, that transit is by far the safest way to travel. Some studies show it's 30 times less likely to result in an injury than in a private vehicle. So really trying to achieve that mode shift that Ahmed talked about will go a long ways towards safety outcomes as well. So there's a couple examples, but there's a few others.
Thanks. I've got a follow-up one from Tony. Any idea how this will influence the transportation master plan, starting with safety first? Okay, so as I said, we want to influence each and every initiative we take in our transportation master plan with a safety in our mind. So there are several policies which we have here. They will go as our transportation policies, and transportation master plan is the statutory document for the city. So every policy we have in our TMP will have a stamp of, from the perspective of safety. So that way, we are not looking, for example, road construction, or we need to do expansion of, say, road network. So that will be looked from the perspective of how it adds to safety of all users of the road. For example, say, we have a new document almost still in progress, the complete streets guidelines. So from here, from road safety, they will go into transportation master plan, and then from there into standards. That's kind of a process. So most of the projects and initiatives which we will get from the transportation master plan will have some influence of the transportation safety strategies, actions which we have them here. And some of them will go, for example, TMP includes capital programs in the next 10, 20 years. So the programs which we have in our safety plan here and are not funded. I mean, as I said, we are not asking for new funding here. This we are going to send as an input into our TMP. So in TMP, we have asked for funding. So some of the programs and projects which we have included as actions and strategies, and they're not funded, that will go into TMP, and we get we hopefully achieve funding to implement them there. Okay, thank you. I've got one from Ann Coffin. What direction did the public provide? For example, did they accept reduced speed limits? It's reduced speeds, sorry. Yeah, so I mean, there is some kind of paradox and contradictions here, because those who attended the public open houses, they all supported, they first of all acknowledged that speed is a problem, because in our analysis we found that significant number of collisions occur because of speeding. So it's established both in literature as well as among people's mind that speed is a problem, and we showed all those traditional graphs which we show in road safety conferences, how a reduction of speed from 50 kilometer to 30 kilometer helps survive the pedestrians, for example, if they are hit directly. So they all agree on that, and that's how. And also our committee, the steering committee, as well as internal stakeholders. So based on their input, we included the reduction of speed limits, or at least piloting them as part of strategies and actions. But unfortunately, we before this plan was completed a few months ago, we tried to initiate a 40-kilometer zone within the downtown, and it didn't go well with people. I don't know. We really don't know if it was like common public who was commenting, or there was some kind of lobbying by some groups. We couldn't do that, but hopefully now we have a plan
it's part of the TMP. So it says, it's a statutory plan, and once approved, it has, and it has its value for enforcement, I guess, to call it that way. So we definitely take this to council and ask for, starting some pilot projects like downtown, some residential areas. The benefits of lower speed limits are umpteen, like all over the world. Everybody knows, like from Europe to, say, even in Canada, like you guys have done it in Calgary. Many of you are from Calgary and Edmonton. And we all agree on this fact that lower speed limits in residential areas is a really good thing for road safety. And our newer areas, we have very good design roads. We can definitely, reduce speed limits from 50 to, say, 40. But in older areas, we have pretty wide roads, and that's why we have this curb extension program. So we are trying to do as many curb extensions in many areas, and that will help us, implement this speed zones.
Maybe I can just add to that in terms of just more generally what direction the public provided. So we sought the public's input at 2 stages of the project. So first, it was just really presenting the facts, because it's quite interesting that very few people in the public even know the number of collisions or injuries or even fatalities that have happened in the community. So starting with that, it kind of immediately engages them. And then when they start sharing their own experiences and own involvement or their family's involvement, and because pretty much we all know somebody who's been involved in a serious crash, and when being reminded of that, sometimes we take a bit of a different approach and understand that the role that we have to play, and not only the city or its partners. So that was sort of at the outset, is getting that engagement and getting their kind of support for the overall vision of working towards zero. The second stage was a few months later, and that was really to get their input on the identified focus areas and strategies. So in terms of what the direction they provided, it was I guess reassuring that the public supported all of the actions at a rate of about I guess the lowest focus area, 70% of the public supported it. I think that was the one to do with distraction and speed, so not surprising, a little bit lower. But the intersection interventions were supported at a rate of 83%. So overall high response rates, even for a lot of the speed related initiatives. You did see the two, the opposite sides of the camp definitely were very active, but there was a large kind of middle ground, which was very productive to hear from them. They were, they in a very reasonable, they thought it was very reasonable to aim for a zero goal and to support all of the strategies to help getting there.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, you kind of answered the next one, but I'll ask it because it might be more to add here. This is from Strathcona County. Understanding the challenges of public engagement, are you confident with the number of responses? And can you clarify the process, which I think you have there, Raheem? And would you recommend any different engagement strategies?
No, I think, as I said, we at City of Lethbridge, we have pretty unique, way of doing public consultation since last year. So, we use all forums and platforms to engage public, including the social media, pretty much extensively. But this, the plan which we have about combining the projects into 2 or 3 public events around the year in some prominent place in the city has been very successful. So we had, the last one, we had over 300 people, coming to our booth for a road safety plan, for example. Similarly, more and more people get engaged with that, the events which we, plan to have or we have had in past. I really don't know if there needs to be another way of engaging public. Like we do all, successful strategies tried everywhere else, like pop-ups for some projects. We haven't done pop-ups for this project, but for others we have done that. in in areas where people tend to come. For example, for some of our functional plans which we are doing now, we went to an event in NMAX Center, and we set up our shop there. We went a couple of times to Saturday, what is that? Saturday market in our exhibition park, the farmers market, and so on, and malls. So, all innovative and traditional ways of engagement we have been doing, and I think we are pretty happy with our consultation process. Raheem, you want to add something?
No, I think the fact that we did the in-person engagement, the online engagement, with quite a detailed survey, and still got a good response rate. Understandably, the second survey, which was it was after COVID hit, so the response rate was understandably lower, but that's really all that we could do at that time. But given that, I think, and then of course the stakeholder engagement, and it wasn't just kind of the closest partners. It was a very extensive stakeholder engagement. As Ahmed mentioned, over 80 people were invited, and most of them actually completed the survey. So we got good response to that as well.
And a wide range of stakeholders, like from taxi cab companies to driving schools to traditional stakeholders.
So well, yeah, it was basically all various road user groups, various community groups, business, and of course the city's kind of closer, more public kind of agencies like schools and the other city departments, police, ambulance, etc. So I think we heard from pretty much every segment that we wanted to. There's a couple that we didn't get their support, like the media. They ended up not showing up, and we are gonna be counting on the media for to cover whenever there's transportation successes. I think the public needs to hear about it because they're only hearing when there's a crash happening, right, or a serious crash. But I think as hopefully the number of injuries and serious injuries goes down in Lethbridge, the public needs to hear about it and then see that there are things that that the city is doing, and there's a role that we can play in helping that to come down further. So that's those are the kind of things that are needed for further engagement as we go forward. I just wanted to make one more point. One of the other things I think was really innovative and important that the city did on this project was to actually set a timeline for getting to zero. We know that zero is an aspirational goal, and it'll no doubt be a challenge by no matter what year you pick. But by setting an actual year goal, it just created that further impetus and urgency to actually start, affecting change and hopefully to secure whatever budgets would be required to start working towards that. So it just adds kind of a layer of accountability and urgency and ambition. And other countries and some cities in the US have done that, but I'm not sure if anybody in Canada has. So Lethbridge is certainly being a leader by adopting not only a zero goal, but a year by which to try to achieve it.
Excellent. Well, I don't see any more questions, so I think we'll wrap up now. I want to thank Ahmed and Raheem both for being here and presenting really interesting and nice to see that you got support from your leadership and council to start with the safety piece of your transportation plan first. So thank you very much for presenting. And our next event will be on November the 17th. So watch for an upcoming email notice on that event, and have a great rest of your day.